One Friday Fights 84 took place at Lumpini Boxing Stadium in Bangkok, Thailand. Kongsuk's undefeated streak was taken away by Muangthai, the Elbow Zombie, in a third round TKO. All this and more in Fighting with Friends. Welcome back to the CPS Report. It's your boy, brother Gaia. This week, back with another fight recap. We are recapping One Friday Fights 84. I won't be doing it alone this time. I do have brother Jedi with me. Let's bring him up onto the panel. How's it going, broski?
Yo. Good, man. Happy to be back.
Happy to be back. We are recording this recap on the day of the UFC 308. But like I said, we are focusing on one championship today. Let's bring it up, brother Jedi. The main event of One Friday Fights 84, we saw Kongsuk taking on Muang Thai, the Elbow Zombie. And it was a back and forth fight. Kongsuk was coming into this fight with a 3-fight winning streak. He was on a hot streak. Muang Thai needed a win. I think he only came into it with one win and lost two prior to that. So he desperately needed a win coming into this fight. And what a fight. It was back and forth from the first moment up until that third round. Both guys landing a knockdown on each other and swinging for the fences pretty much. Kongsuk fighting off the back foot. Muang Thai trying to get in close so he can get into elbow range. And it was just going back and forth. How do you think this fight played out, Jada? What's your take on it?
Yeah, it was exactly that. Sorry. Yeah, that was exactly that. The very high-paced, high-level Muay Thai fight. Clearly, Muay Thai wanted to fight in close and use his elbows and knees and kind of his center of gravity,
Mm,
so to speak. But you could see that Kung Suk wanted to work his kicks,
mm,
and
mm.
he was very like rangy, being southpaw.
Yeah.
So it was interesting, and you could see it was difficult for Muang Thai to stand and trade with him in
Mm.
kind of a distance fight because he was getting pieced up. So his game plan was obviously to try and walk him down and make him
Yeah.
fight going backwards, because then the power is not to the max. You know what I
Mm,
mean? You
mm.
can't really throw your hardest when you're going back unless you kind of time in somebody.
Yes.
But it was still a very dangerous fight for both guys, and it was very even.
Yeah.
Um, but what's his dude, Kung Suk? Yeah, I think he got rocked in the second round just before he went down.
Yes.
He obviously came up aggressive and whatever and got counted. But one thing what Muang Thai was doing good, sort of when Kung Suk was pressuring him, he he landed good counters. He
Mm,
landed good
mm,
counters every time, which kind of tipped the fight into his favor. It was almost
mm.
having a street fight war kind of fight. It favored him.
I
It
did.
favored him.
Yeah.
Um, but I think the fight was an early stoppage. I don't think the ref should have called it that quick in the third round.
Ooh.
I saw some
Are you
comments on the side
serious?
saying it was rigged, and all, like, lots of other
Mm,
talk. Um, but for me, I don't think he should have stopped it. I think he should have let Kung Suk go out on his shield. He should have let him, you know,
uh,
get
uh,
get
uh.
get knocked down again or something. Because when he got knocked down the first time, also I thought like, oof, he got rocked really bad, and it looked like he was a bit out of it because he didn't even raise his gloves the first time. He was
Yeah.
like, just like,
He just jumped.
yeah,
Just jumped up and did this.
yeah, exactly, exactly,
He just like wormed himself up
exactly.
again.
And then he turned out to look like he was alright. He was fighting, defending, striking back, and he ended up rocking Muay Thai. You know what I
Knocked
mean?
him
So I was
down.
like,
Yeah.
okay. When he got knocked down the second time, it was just kind of the same reaction. You know what I mean? He
Mm,
jumped back up. He wasn't like laying on the floor,
he just jumped
rolling
up
around.
again.
He did jump back up. So I was like, okay, cool. He's gonna fight. And then the ref just waved it off. I was like, nah, that's sad.
Mm,
I don't
mm.
think. So yeah, I think it was an early stoppage. I don't think it was the right decision. I would have loved to seen them kind
Go
of
again. Yeah.
let him let him fight till he's
Mm.
done. You know what I mean? Um, but also the Muang Thai, bruh, it's got a very awkward, difficult style to fight against, and hats off to him, bro.
Yeah, he's I mean, he's a former champion. Both these guys are former Lupini Boxing Stadium champions. The Kongsuk, I dig his style because he's one of the very few Thai fighters that can fight off the back foot so successfully, actually, because a lot of guys don't get it right, and he does it really well. And Muang Thai has got this fidgety kind of way of when he closes the distance, like his hands are moving a
Mm,
lot in this.
mm,
Try and get your
mm.
hands down, and then he comes in with elbows, and I mean, he did do that quite
Yeah.
successfully in the fight. In terms of that knockdown, I also felt it was a bit of a quick stoppage. However, when I rewatched it,
Oh, the third
because I was
round.
watching
Mm,
the third round, yes, when I was watching it back just before we started this episode, um, he got knocked down, he jumped back up, but the referee was already past the eighth count, and his hand still didn't come up at that point, and the referee was like, "Well, I'm already past number 8, and you still do not
bro, that
respond."
also another
Yeah,
thing. I thought the referee's count was ridiculously fast, bro. It was like,
yeah,
how did
yeah,
we get to him like being knocked down and jumping back up? He was already on
and
5 or 6. I was like,
he was
nah,
already on 6,
this
yeah,
is ridiculous. This is
yeah,
ridiculous.
because
I
when
thought
when when the
the
first
decision was
knockdown landed
crazy.
when the first knockdown landed on Kongsuk, sorry, not Kongsuk, when Kongsuk landed his knockdown on Muang Thai, the referee count,
Mm,
and this is what I'm talking about in the previous episodes, the referee, when they count in one, two, they do one, and then they look away at the fighter, then they go two. It takes you 2 seconds to actually look away and come back again. So
mm,
you
mm,
already
mm,
passed
mm,
you
mm.
already passed the number. So
Yeah,
technically gave Muang Thai a bit of a longer 8 count to come back up. So I just think the referees, when they count in on fighters, they should just focus on the fighter, count down on the fighter, and then instead of looking to see if the other fighters getting coached, because they didn't even go back to their corners, they just stand there waiting to go back because they want to go back and finish
yeah.
the fight. So the referee shouldn't really look back so much at the other opponent. Just count the 8 count, and then if the guy doesn't make it, he doesn't make it. But sick fight for the main event. And in the day, I was on my feet. I was clapping every single round because I enjoy watching both these guys and looking
Mm,
forward to seeing the two of them compete again in the one championship. Do you have any final thoughts for these two guys? They're both fairly young, eh?
mm. Yeah, no, I believe they are. I think
Yeah,
they're obviously going to meet each other again. Um, and I think they'll both make it into the one championship. They're very exciting, and it's like there's
yeah.
a there's a rivalry now. You know what I mean? There's something always to build on.
Mm.
So yeah,
Absolutely. And their gyms, their two gyms
and
are in competition quite often. The Fairtex and
okay,
Senchai gym.
and I think it's unfinished, man. I I I think
Mm.
that decision wasn't right, and I think a lot of people feel
Yeah,
that they
yeah.
should have let it go on.
Yeah, I'm sure we get safe to say that a lot of us fight fans that watched the fight would have loved to see them, or at least given Kungsuk the chance to actually, because he did eventually put his hands up. He did eventually go like, but the referee was like, I'm already waving it. So I
Bro,
would
he
have loved to
bounced
have
up
seen him.
immediately.
He literally just
He
Dominic
touched the
cruised the
floor and he
draw.
got up immediately. So
Yeah, he literally just jumped up so quickly. But okay, anyway, I agree with you. I think they're gonna fight again in the future, particularly because of their ages as well. Let's move it on, Jedi, to the co-main event, which I was quite excited for. Xavier Gonzalez took on Palang Boon for the second time. They fought before, and I think
oh,
Xavier
word.
Gonzalez lost the first fight as well. But
Mm,
this was also a very exciting fight back and forth between the two gentlemen. I was calling the fight live while I was watching it, and I actually was giving the fight to Xavier Gonzalez. I don't know if you got a different opinion, but let us know
mm,
what you think. What's
yeah,
your thoughts?
I agree with the decision. I think Palang Boom um, won the fight
Mm,
2 rounds to 1, maybe. I think the Javi Gonzalez dude, he's obviously got the cardio and the durability and the length, and that's his
mm,
kind of fight style is to like pressure you down, strike you all and
yeah,
whatever.
that's his
Um,
buzz. Yeah,
but kind of very messy, so to speak.
very, very messy Jedi.
Um, a lot like in the first round, he was fairly accurate. but in the second and third round, he wasn't so accurate for me, and a little bit
Mm,
reckless.
mm.
Because he was like when he overextends himself and misses, he was getting counted
A
and
lot.
kicked
Yeah.
also.
Mm,
So that's why I felt Balamboon was actually landing more of the cleaner shots, and that's why he was
mm,
still in there. You could see the experience on kind of distance control and movement was in his favor, and that's how he. Well, I think that's how he managed to win the fight.
mm.
Just staying calm and picking his shots, because you could see Xavi was just trying to put the pace on him. You know what I mean?
Pressure.
He was trying to
Yeah.
weigh him down, and it was working. Because if this was like a title fight with 5 rounds, it could have gone a
Yeah.
little different in the last 2 rounds. You know
Fair
what I
game.
mean?
Fair game. Good point.
Um, but you could, I think Balangbun fought a very strategic,
Mm,
experience, thought out
mm.
fight, and he showed that he can be a household name in the future just because of how he carried himself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I think it was good, and they're probably gonna meet again. I know Javi Gonzalez obviously wants to fight again.
I mean,
He
Javi's
obviously wants
24.
to fight again.
I mean,
That
Javi's
guy's
23.
that guy's 24. He's only
Yeah.
1 year older, so they're obviously gonna meet again. But it's like, one of the things of how many times do I have to beat the same guy.
Same guy. Well,
So
I mean, if you look at Javi's record in the one championship, he's fought two guys twice. He fought two
mm,
guys twice each. So I mean, he's fought, four fights of two of the same people. So I wouldn't be surprised if
exactly.
he gets the same opponent again. I have a question for you
Uh,
on this fight because I like that you were in the side of Palang Poon. Boon, so excuse me. Because it's something that I spoke to Eddie about when we were doing the recap for Sun Tzu Mitklin Me took on I forget his name now, a debut kickboxer guy, Asuik. They fought, and it was pretty much reminiscent of this fight in terms of the style. It was, the one guy was forward pressing a lot, throwing bombs, never really landing, but kept the other fighter going backwards the whole time.
mm,
The backwards
mm.
fighter didn't throw as much, but when he did throw, he was cleaner. Like it actually landed.
Yeah.
And so then it's how do you, so then the question was how do you score that? Like what is the correct rhetoric to score for that kind of fight? Because in this fight, I agree with you. Javi was the one that was throwing. He was pushing the pace. He was really going and making Polampung going backwards. But
Mm.
Polampung never really got touched. He kicked. I remember. I think it was
Yeah, it
coming
was.
into the second round. He landed two low kicks that literally made Javi like he turned his whole body one way, and he was like, "Oh my gosh!" You could see he even stepped differently. He even stepped differently
Mm,
onto his front leg, which then indicated to me his leg was cooked. So how
mm,
do you score it? Obviously, the one championship scored it to Palampung, which means he obviously landed the more damaging shots.
mm.
But it's just difficult to sort of
Yeah.
um,
For
like
me,
how does someone lose like that? Anyway, what's
for
your thoughts?
me, the criteria number one is always damage.
Okay.
Like, who was the closest first? Who was the closest to finishing the fight? If there was
Mm,
no clear guy to finish in the fight, then it's
mm,
damage. Who
mm.
created the most damage? Then after that, if the damage is kind of equal, then it's who controlled the rounds
Yeah.
better. You know what I mean? Between each other,
Yes.
who was
Yes.
more in control of the
Yeah.
overall fight, and
Hmm.
then you
Hmm.
can kind of go more down and more down and more down in terms
Yes.
of
Yes.
criteria. But for me, it's always who was the closest to finishing the fight and
Yeah.
who inflicted the most damage. That's like
Yeah.
the two main
I com-
criterias.
I agree. I agree on that. So lastly on that one, you mentioned who is controlling the fight. Now, control can be seen different ways because like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
although Palangpun was going backwards, he appeared to be more in control of the fight. Because, like you say, Javi was looking a bit like he was reckless in terms of how he was going forward, especially
Mm,
into the second round and third round. He was really like just launching himself forward, but none of it was really
mm,
landing and did look a bit messy. A lot of his fights look like that, by the way. So then the question is, who was in control? Because the one was forward pressuring, but didn't look like
mm,
he was in control. And there's the other one that was going backwards the whole time, looked like he was in control. So sometimes that's a bit difficult to sort of navigate that because you don't know necessarily
mm,
who's the one that's actually in control of the fight. Um, so that was my question is like, how do you distinguish who the person is who's in control of the fight, especially if the one is moving
Yeah,
backwards and that's the one that's winning.
I think that's just a referee's biasness in terms of watching like what they are actually seeing, bro. Because as you say, what the one could be seeing apples and the other one could be seeing fucking buck bears or some shit. I don't know, but you know what I mean. You
Yeah,
can easily get to people watching two completely different fights, and that's happened a lot with
facts,
us. It's happened
facts,
a lot. I'm sure it happens with other people. So
facts.
I think still for me, Palambun won the fight. I
Mm,
think he was just more
mm,
experienced and more thoughtful, more kind of strategic in how he dealt with the pressure.
yeah.
And then, as we said, picked his moments as to landing cleaner shots and things like that.
Mm,
Because eventually, I think in the second round, you could see the Gonzalo's guy tried to put his foot down. Now he was like,
mm,
"Okay,
mm.
now I fault you. I've seen it, whatever. Let's get it on."
Yeah,
And it was like
he
kilo
did.
be killed for
Mm,
Gonzalez. That's the way I could see him kind of fighting. It was like kilo be kill. I'm going. I'm going.
yeah.
And the other dude at first was you could see was slightly overwhelmed by it, but eventually composed himself and moved better, kept the distance, and was just using his timing. And I think the
Yeah.
timing won.
Yeah, indeed, because he really missed when he did throw. It was so much cleaner.
Like terrible, like terrible.
Yeah, and it's hard to
And
score
as you
against
said, he
that.
was getting chewed up with the leg kick. He was getting chewed up. They kept like I said, kept countering him. If you watch the fight again and you watch the replays in between
Yeah,
rounds, you could see
yeah.
also how he was like for every one strike he threw, I think Palambun hit him 3 times.
Yeah, no, I remember it very vividly. It's just what was interesting. It's just that you would think by first glance that the person that's moving forward and pressuring the other fighter has got the advantage. But
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
yeah,
watching so much of these Muay Thai fights, I think it's safe to say that that's not always the case. Sometimes the person going backwards
yeah,
is actually while in control of the fight.
yeah.
Okay, Jedi, we're gonna move on to our last sort of recap. It's recap because for what had happened at the end of the fight. It was an amazing fight. Firstly, I know you didn't watch it, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it. But what I really want to highlight about this fight is that Parham Karati from Iran was the only fighter on this fight card, and the first in a long time that was able to get the one championship $100,000 contract at the end of this fight. And what was an amazing fight.
Yo,
He won the first round. He won the first round, lost the second round, and then came back. He was losing the third round also, came back and then landed an elbow, then body shot and knocked out George Muzakitas. Muzakitas from England. Interesting surname. I think he
from
might be from
England.
Greece
Absolute
originally.
lies.
It says England, but I think it's a Greek surname. So, but anyway, it was an
Yeah,
exciting fight. Both the gentlemen, they look big for
ever.
bantamweight. Firstly, both of them. But what a fight! If you haven't watched it, go back and watch it, ladies and gentlemen. It was amazing, especially since Param was able to secure himself $100,000 contract, making himself the fighter, the newly rostered fighter on the One Championships roster. So big up to
Yo,
Param Karate there. But
heavy.
anyway, that is our time, Jedi. Thank you for for the recapping. We are going to be doing it again the following day when we
But
recap UFC 308. Yeah, but
but
when you have a
but
chance, go watch that fight back. Yeah.
please open up a couple of tikka chicken food trucks. What's some of
Oh
that
my
one?
so yes, it's Jedi. Oh my gosh! But if you are opening up a ticket chicken shop there, Badam, you will find us there for sure, my brother. You'll find us there for sure. Jedi,
I
looking
was
forward to doing the recap with you when we do the UFC 308 recap on Sunday. But if you made it this far, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. All that good things to help us get further in the YouTube algorithm. We are trying to beat the YouTube algorithm. But on that note, you will catch us on when we recap the UFC 308, like I've been saying. Enjoy the fights this weekend. Stay safe, stay blessed, and we will catch you on the next one. Cheers.